Thanks for joining. Today we're going to do a quick tutorial on the most important Google Ads metrics and how to interpret them. We're going to focus on the relationships between these metrics and see 5 live examples of how to determine whether your campaigns are performing effectively or not. The first thing we're going to do is talk about the key metrics that we need to know and understand. We'll be looking at the account level metrics, but the same methodology can apply to any aspect of the account, whether it's campaign level, ad groups, asset groups, or ads. Those are going to be the main ones that we're going to focus on today, and they're going to start with cost. This is by far the most important one. This is how much you're paying for the advertising, and all the other metrics and their relationships are essentially driven from this to some extent. The goal is to get as much out of what's being spent with any advertising, and Google Ads is no different. And this also helps us understand what's being spent, where it's being spent, and the dynamics of the overall campaign. So the next metric we want to talk about is average cost per click. Google Ads is primarily a cost per click platform, while Performance Max is a subset of Google Ads is based on a more complex set of interactions. To keep it simple, we want to focus on how much traffic or how many clicks are being driven to our web page. Cost per click is how much you're paying for each of these user interactions on your ad. We want to minimize this metric as much as we can. We want to get as much out of the cost that we are able to do. Our next is clicks. So clicks are the interactions with the ads, which is generally a click to a landing page. Based on changes in cost per click, the volume of clicks will change with the cost or with your budget. This is a measure of how much traffic your ads are generating. All things being equal, more cost, more spend, more clicks. The next one we're going to talk about is click-through rate. Click-through rate is a percentage of people who saw the ads that clicked on them. This is a measure of how users engage with your ads. Changes in this metric will determine how many impressions are needed to deliver the clicks to fulfill the budget or the cost. All things being equal, an increase in click-through rate will cause a decrease in impressions. As this metric is a component of ad rank and will influence cost per click, we want to maximize CTR, click-through rate, in most cases. But if you're focusing on an impression share or other objective, that may vary. Next one is impressions. So impressions are how many ads are actually shown to users. This is a measure of the visibility your ads receive during the period. Next most important is the conversion rate. This is the percentage of people who took the desired action of all the people who clicked or interacted with the ads. The higher the conversion rate can indicate alignment between your creative, your landing page, and the desired action. The higher the conversion rate, the more conversions are generated from the clicks that the ads received. This is something we want to maximize. Note that a conversion rate is a function of the entire conversion process, not just the ads or the campaigns. The ads deliver the traffic and amplify the message, but they're only the first part of the process. So don't forget how your website's performing, how your landing page is set up, and other aspects of the user engagement. Okay, conversions are the number of desired actions that users complete. Generally, these actions are the objective of the campaign, whether it's sales, leads, store visits, phone calls, things like that. This is a much deeper topic, and we'll do a separate video on conversions. The last metric we want to look at is cost per conversion. This represents how much it costs to get a conversion. The more conversions for the cost, the lower the cost per conversion. We want to minimize this. Okay, next we're going to set up our interface view so we can see and interpret these key metrics easily. Here we are in the Google Ads interface. So when we come into our account, what we're going to do is we're going to click on columns here, and we're going to click to modify columns. Then on the right hand side, we'll see which ones we have. So mine are already set up here. So I have cost, average cost per click, clicks, click-through rate, impressions, conversions, conversion rate, and cost per conversion. So you can also save your column set here and check the box. Down here, click apply, and you are good to go, and you're all set up. Okay, now that you have your interface set up so we can easily see the metrics, the next thing we're going to do is set our time frame. In this case, it's good to have a comparison of how your metrics are performing. You want to see trends. Sometimes, depending on your business, this could be a month over month, it could be a year over year, it could be something else, it could be campaign based. So whatever you use, it is nice to be able to compare different time frames and understand what's going on with your campaigns on a deeper level. So for these examples, we're going to use 5 live accounts, and we're going to look at how their metrics are shifting. We're going to be looking at last month compared to the prior month. All right, let's get started. Here is our first example of an account that's been running. As I mentioned, this is looking at last month compared to the prior month. It is definitely important to note that looking at your timelines and what you're comparing, that they are of equal length. So for example, in this case, we're looking at June's data versus May. So June had 30 days, May had 31 days. So that can sometimes throw off your analysis, so you always want to note that. Sometimes when you see very small movements, it could be something that's just as simple as there were just an extra day or one fewer day than in that time period. So definitely something to look at. Okay, in this example here, what we want to notice is that cost is up, not a whole lot, but marginally, about 6%. But we also see that cost per click is up too, almost 3%. So that tells us that clicks are going to grow at a lower rate than the cost increase. So we can see about half, a little bit over half as many clicks generated by percentage as more money that we spent based on this increase in cost per click. We also want to then look at the click-through rate and see that it decreased slightly. So that then is somewhat of an offsetting factor to the cost per click, but gives us more impressions. Reason being that the clicks generated are the cost divided by the cost per click, and then the number of people, the percentage of people that click on the impressions or click on the ads gives us our number of clicks. So if we see click-through go up, more people clicked, and if it went down, then we see fewer people clicked on the ads. Okay, next one over here is going to be the conversion rate. So we did see the conversion rate did increase, and so that generated a larger number of conversions for the cost and at a lower cost per conversion. So it's important to remember in this case that cost drives everything. So that what we pay for our clicks is going to affect how many clicks we get. Our click-through is going to determine how many impressions we get. Our cost per conversion is determined by how many conversions we get for the cost. So, okay, all right. The next example we're going to use here is a little bit of a larger spend, same time period. We can see that in this case, the cost increased pretty significantly, about 77%. So big month there. We did see the cost per click went up almost 10% as well, which can sometimes happen when you start putting a lot more money into the system, new campaigns, things like that. The algorithms need to optimize. So I would never necessarily immediately react to a change in cost per click, give it some time. But we did in fact see about a 9.5% increase here. And so clicks did go up, but not to the same degree as the cost went up. In this case, we did see an improvement in click-through rate. So you can see that the difference in increase in impressions, so impressions went up by 48%, even though we spent 76% more money. So that is a function of an increase of over 9% in the click-through rate. Conversion rate in this case did decrease. So let's jump over here. We see conversion rate dropped about 7%, 6.7%, which led to a higher cost per conversion. You can see that went up about 27%, because the higher conversion rate means that, the lower conversion rate means that there were fewer conversions for the number of clicks. We got more clicks, but we spent quite a bit more money. So that then gave us a conversion increase of about 39%, but you can see proportionally to how much more we spent, it didn't go up in a linear fashion. Okay, our next example, we are going to look at a very slight increase in cost, small increase in cost, but a larger increase in cost per click. So we can see we spent about 1% more which is largely just a nominal shift in traffic. Cost per click went up almost 11%, which led to actually fewer clicks than we spent more, we got less for our money because of this cost per click. And what we did see is a much higher click-through rate. So click-through rate went up by over 50%. So this is a tricky one because if we're looking at it, we spent more money, we got fewer clicks, we got fewer impressions. So that is a function of if cost per click goes up, we get fewer clicks. If click-through goes up, then we get fewer impressions, relatively speaking. So that can be sometimes hard to understand. Cost per click, we want that as low as possible. Click-through rate, we want that higher, but we can see that some of the other metrics that fall out of that sometimes don't look as good. So, pretty substantial increase in conversion rate, almost 200% increase in conversion rate. However, what that looks like because of the decrease in clicks, and in some cases, I picked this one for a reason, because sometimes when we look at these numbers and we are looking at Google and we've got different types of campaigns running. So for example, we have a search campaign running and a Performance Max campaign running. Sometimes because of the differential in the math, sometimes things don't look right. They just don't really make sense. So we did see a pretty big drop in conversions, which did lead to a higher cost per conversion, but to see so much of a higher increase in conversion rate off of lower clicks, lower impressions, that's really just a function of the numbers. We're talking 0.1% conversion rate there, which essentially tells us that it's a really small number. So for it to make a big move, it doesn't make a huge difference in the numbers themselves. So always think scale. Always look at not just the percentage that something moved, but also how much it moved directly. Okay, all right, our next example here is going in a different direction where we had a substantial decrease in cost. So we spent a lot less this month, about 12% less, and cost per click improved. So we spent less by about 12%. Our cost per click improved by almost 12%. So our clicks stayed relatively flat. So basically, we spent less money, but that money was saved in cost per click, which kept us about where we were for considerably less money. But we see that our click-through rate increased by 19%, which led to fewer impressions. And the way the math works out, fewer impressions at a larger percentage than we saved in spend. That is because of the increase in click-through rate as well as the stable clicks. Okay, we did also see a decrease in conversion rate here of about 3.6%, which led to fewer conversions for the clicks that were generated at a higher cost per conversion. So we see the cost per conversion went up by about 30%. All right, our fifth and final example here. Cost is down slightly, but cost per click improved very slightly as well. So costs went down, clicks increased, but click-through rate increased substantially, about 73%. So that led to a lot fewer impressions during this time period. So about a 42% decrease. Also, we saw a decrease in conversion rate of about 6%, which led to a higher cost per conversion because cost was stable but down, and fewer conversions came out of that. And that is our final example. Okay, thank you for watching. Hopefully you found value in this. If you have any questions or want to learn anything else, add some comments. We do read those, and we do use that to plan out our videos. We do want to do a lot more of these tutorials across not only Google Ads, but other platforms as well, and the other technology that we use as a digital advertising agency. Check back often. We plan to publish as much as we can, and we look forward to your feedback. Thanks very much.